And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony Fapiano, and I'm coming to you from the studio at Guilford Community Television. It's my privilege today to have three very special guests with me. And I say very special because the organization that they are associated with and the work that they do and who they do it to is absolutely phenomenal. And I don't know everything about you, that's why we're doing this program. But I will say what I do know is that I know at some point, potentially, everybody that lives in the town of Guilford could at some time in their life benefit from one of the services that you actually provide. And if you think about it, you might be the only organization in town that can say that. There's a lot of organizations that do a lot of good for a lot of people, but you're going to do good for everybody potentially. All right? So let me start with introductions. First of all, to my right is Christy. And Christy, let me get the last name correct here. And without my glasses, it's Burton, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I first met you because you were a speaker at the Rotary Club.
Correct.
And we had this conversation about you coming here and doing this. And I'm happy that you are, because I think the more information that you can get out to the community, the better it is for the community and for you. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that's what we'll get done here today. And next to you, Christy, is Tony Cisignano. And Tony, specifically, you work with Charlie's Closet, which is one of the entities under the umbrella organization, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, we're going to get into more in a minute.
Okay.
And Anne-Marie Gunn. Anne-Marie, you do a couple of things. Straighten me out. What exactly do you do?
So I am the director of the Friendly Visiting Program, and I co-direct the food bank with the Social Services Department, Donna Falcone.
You had to complicate my life, huh?
I know.
That's okay. Back to you, Christy, because you are the executive director, which means that you kind of oversee everything, I assume. Is that correct?
That is correct, but these guys are the directors of their respective parts of the organization, so they're kind of in charge of their own divisions, and they do a great job. So I don't really have to do too much with respect to these folks.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I am the director of the Meals on Wheels part of the organization, so that's primarily where I spend most of my time.
Now, Meals on Wheels, you feed a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Specifically, today is Wednesday, July 20-something, whatever it is.
31st, yeah.
Okay. How many people, or how many meals went out today?
Today was 105. And that's actually a low number. Usually,
what is it normally?
Usually it's about 120, and if it's Larry's pot roast, it could be as high as 150.
Okay. So who cooks all this food?
So that's one of the things that separates our program from a lot of other shoreline programs or programs in general is Larry Santa Maria and his crew, which he has 4 people working with him. He is great. They're all great, and I would say 90% of the meals that they make are homemade. So it's very high quality food, and a lot of thought and care is put into the menu every month. So.
All right. So the 105, 130, whatever it is on a daily basis, how does the recipient qualify to get a meal? Is it on a need basis? Do you have to have financial need? I mean, what is it?
Well, that again is another part of our organization, aspect of the organization that is unique. Since we don't take any state funding, we can help anybody. So there's no age restriction, there's no financial restrictions. If you call our offices and say, I'm going in for surgery, I can use meals for the next month, that's it. It literally takes 5 minutes to sign up. We find out, your preferences, allergies, what have you. And if you called today and needed meals, you could have them tomorrow.
Really? Mm-hmm. If I call, can I? But I guess what I'm saying is, is this a potential area of abuse by somebody in the community who doesn't really have a need, who has plenty of money and has the ability to feed themselves? Would they still take advantage of your program? Do you find that that's happened over the years?
I don't think so. I think people are generally, they'll call if there's a true need. I mean, sometimes it's a function of just somebody who's older doesn't have the energy to cook anymore. I mean, they could, but they don't have the energy. So we try to make their life a little bit easier. I don't believe that we're taken advantage of. I want to think we're not.
And if you did, you probably wouldn't say anything anyway. In other words, if somebody took the time to contact you and say, I need a meal, you need a meal.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's the way you look at it. And this just in the town of Guilford?
Correct. We service just the town of Guilford. Each other shoreline community has their own Meals on Wheels program. Anne Marie's programs also serve only Guilford, but Tony's program serves, statewide. They come for his equipment.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Larry Santa Maria. He's the head chef cook
Correct.
At the community center.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, he prepares these meals plus the other stuff that he does there, because he also provides breakfast and lunch for people that walk in the door, right?
He provides breakfast and lunch for anybody that comes through the door, and he also runs the VFW. He also helps with the town with respect to, catering for the kids' teams and what have you. So he does.
And those are not associated
No.
with your organization?
No.
And your organization over the years, the name of it has changed also. It used to be Guilford Interfaith Ministries.
Correct.
Now it's Guilford Interfaith Volunteers.
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been with the organization?
6 years.
And what got you into that?
Well, my kids had kind of grown to the point where I could go back to work. I was friends with the previous executive director.
Who was?
Marta Slattery.
Marta, yeah.
And
She actually moved out of state, right?
Correct. Yeah. She's now going to Spain. They both retired, she and her husband. And my sons and I, at various points, used to volunteer and drive, especially on the holidays. And then there was coincidentally an opening, and Marta became the executive director, and she needed somebody to run the Meals on Wheels program.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah.
She was great when she was there. Now, you mentioned hundreds of meals that go out on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. If you do the math on an annual basis, I don't know what it is. What is it? I think you threw out a number at Rotary when you were the speaker.
Yeah, so the year the meal count is about 38,000. This April, we passed the milestone of serving, since our inception, which was 1985, 750,000 meals.
Wow. All right. So, who's delivering 750,000? Who's doing this?
So that is
we know who's cooking it.
Yeah.
Now it's ready to go. Who brings it? If I get a meal, who gives it to me?
Right. So the beauty of all of our organizations, and we couldn't do what we do without them, is our volunteers. So every day, Monday through Friday, and we deliver weekend meals on Friday if needed. The drivers, there's 6 to 7 routes contingent upon the day, come to the community center and pick up the meals, the desserts, whatever else needs to be delivered. But there's it's 6 or 7 different routes, and they're all clustered. There's North Guilford, there's down by the water, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, I guess the critical question some people at home are probably thinking, we know who cooks it, we know who delivers it, we know who eats it. Who pays for it?
So the way our program works is the meals cost, unfortunately in the 6 years I've been there, this is the first time we've had to pass a price increase along to our customers. We've always tried to keep our costs low, which we do. But the meals cost $5.25. However, if you're somebody a lot of seniors are on fixed incomes and they can't afford that, so we scale it to what they can afford. And it's all on the honor system. So there's people that pay as low as $1 and people that pay $5.25, but then there's other people that have the capability to pay more than $5.25, so we have people that pay as high as $7 just to help support the program.
That is the best meatloaf for $5.25 in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And Larry makes it. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Actually, it's amazing. All right. So, what do you do with weekends? You don't deliver on weekends.
So we
right?
don't deliver on the weekends, but if someone does need a meal Saturday or Sunday, we deliver them on Friday. and then they would know how to heat them up in the microwave.
All right. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here. At the end, we're going to kind of
Sure.
review. Tony,
Yes.
you are the guy in charge of Charlie's Closet. First of all, who the heck was Charlie?
Charlie McGowan was a gentleman from, this organization started in 1998. So the way it started was there were two people working for Meals on Wheels at that point. They existed, we didn't. And Charlie had gone into the office and asked them to find a chairlift for a neighbor of his who could not get up to the second floor. They had no idea what he was talking about.
Right. What
But
motives
they
you to
looked
come in
around.
here? Well, what do you this is Page's Hardware.
Yeah, so they looked around, they did find it. And Charlie came back the next week and asked for another piece of equipment, which they were able to find. And at that point, they decided it was time to put together an organization as this. So, and Charlie was the first president of Guilford Interfaith Ministries at that time. And that's how it started.
So where does you have equipment, medical equipment that goes out?
Correct.
Medical equipment comes in.
Correct.
Okay.
It's all durable medical equipment.
Okay. So over the years, you probably have accumulated some inventory of medical equipment.
Yes. When it first started, this particular group had been in several locations around town, and in 2008 we settled in on State Street, and we have a nice barn.
Yeah.
So that allows us to accumulate quite a bit of
You're on the
equipment.
side of where the senior housing is.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're inside. We're in the parking lot of
Sachem Hollow, I think it's called.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's 310 State Street.
All right. So that's where you store your stuff.
Correct.
So now, if I have, if I have a walker that I'm not using, and I would like to donate it to you, and I bring it in,
Yes.
and it's missing a wheel, what do you do with it?
We do get equipment that does need repair, or it's at a point where it cannot be repaired. So we have to decide at that point whether we try to save it, which we do have. I do have a volunteer who does repair work. He's very talented, and we will go through each and every piece of equipment.
And
that
that's a
comes in.
volunteer also?
We have, I'm blessed with 18 volunteers,
Oh my God.
and there are 3 per day. 2 people take care of the phones and take care of the customers that come in, and 1 person cleans all the equipment and goes through it all and checks for its safety and whether it's good to save or not.
What's the most common request that you get?
Wheelchairs.
Wheelchairs?
Yes. That's probably our most requested item, either a wheelchair or a transport chair. And the difference between them is a wheelchair is a chair that somebody can operate themselves, so it has the larger wheels on the back, and they can push that themselves. A transport chair is one chair that has to be pushed, but it's much lighter. So if somebody needs a chair for a relative or a friend, the chair is easy enough to put it in, take in and out of your car. You put the person in the chair and you wheel them to either a doctor's appointment, go grocery shopping, go visit somebody. So
it's mobile.
It's much more mobile. They're both very mobile, but one is self-operated. The other one has to.
So the most common request you get is for a wheelchair. What's the most bizarre request?
Well, there's plenty of specialized equipment out there for people with very specialized needs. So we will get requests for some really individual items. There's one that's called a U-Step. It's like a walker, but it's designed for somebody with Parkinson's disease. And the piece of equipment does not move by itself. You have to pull up on what looks like handbrakes. That releases the wheel, and it allows the person to move. There's also a laser beam that's on the floor.
Oh, wow.
A Parkinson patient sometimes has difficulty in their stride, so they shuffle. The laser beam being on the floor allows them to extend their gait, so it helps them move their feet at a more regular pattern.
Well, the wide range of stuff that people might need. They might need a bed. Do you have beds?
Correct, we do. We're one of the few closets that do handle beds. As your pieces get bigger, you need to have the floor space. And a lot of closets are small. Ours, we're blessed with having a nice barn So I'm able to store larger pieces.
And now Christy alluded to the fact that you're part of a state network.
We are, well, we're an individual.
I don't know if that's the right word. Tell me
Well,
what it's supposed to be.
There are other closets out there, and we're not related to any at all. We're independent.
Do you exchange with each other?
Yes. Yeah, we do. We will refer
Where's the
people.
closest other closet?
There's one in Clinton,
There is.
and it's in the Congregational Church in the center of Clinton.
All right.
And then you go out to Hamden, there's a larger place out there.
So if somebody calls you and says they need a wheelchair, do they have to demonstrate need?
No.
Do you sell it to them? Do they
No,
give it to them? What do you do?
We have it's called a release fee. So it's a $1 release fee that we ask for people to give.
And the release means it releases you of
Correct,
liability.
because everything that we get in is used. So there's no warranties with it. It's functioning because we go through it, we check it, we make sure it fully operates. So I won't take in a piece of equipment that is damaged beyond repair or pieces of equipment that are missing items.
How many years have you been there?
I've just started my 5th year.
How many?
5.
That's a long. You've seen a lot of stuff come and go then.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you charge that, not that you charge it, but there's that release
It's a
fee of $1.
release fee. And then if people want to contribute more, they can.
Have you had
that's all.
situations where where you do the exchange, it leaves you and it goes to the person that needs it, and the wheel falls off and they get hurt? Is there any liability on your
No.
on your side?
No, because people know up front that the piece of equipment is used. We would not send out a piece that was on that close to being damaged. We would check that.
You don't know how I
thoroughly.
think, that's why.
No. Well, we would just thoroughly check it to make sure that there's no possible way that anybody can get hurt.
Yeah, and
No.
does the person have to be a Guilford resident?
No, my part of the organization, anybody can come in.
Really?
Yeah, so this past fiscal year, we've had people coming from 95 different Connecticut towns and 5 people from out of state.
And you don't really care where they live?
No,
Does it have to be Connecticut?
no.
All right,
As
so
long as they call and tell
you
us.
must have some overhead,
We do.
financial overhead.
Yeah, well, we
Where's
have
the money come from?
The operational costs, fundraising, which we're all part of.
I mean, you pick up the Christie. I need 10,000. What do you do?
Well, my biggest budget concern is parts. So that's something that I have to keep tabs on. So one way of us acquiring parts is by stripping equipment that comes in that's not useful. But a lot of times I do have to go out and get new parts. So we have to budget for that. And fortunately, our office manager and our treasurer do an excellent job at budgeting for that for us.
Yeah.
But all of that comes from our fundraising, which the Guilford community is very generous with us.
How long has the organization actually existed, regardless of the name? When it first started as Guilford Interfaith Ministries, how long ago was that? I've known about it a pretty long time.
So
I've heard about it. Let's put it that way.
July of 1985.
85. So now we're talking
So
40
it's
years.
40 years will
Yeah,
be our
40 years.
anniversary next
Yeah,
year.
happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and you know what? It's got to be thousands of people over the years that have actually benefited from what you two have just discussed. Now let's get to Anne Marie.
Yes.
Anne Marie, just refresh my memory. I'm old. I forget. So refresh my memory. What exactly is your title and what do you do?
So I'll start with, because I do 2 different jobs, I'll start with the Friendly Visiting Program. So I'm the director of the Friendly Visiting Program. And that program, which has made it unique, started from Meals on Wheels. So Christy and I work very close together. Drivers would come back and they would say, Christy, they really appreciated the meal, but they're lonely. They need someone to come and visit with them. So in 1987, the Friendly Visiting Program.
A couple of years later.
Yeah, the Friendly Visiting Program started. And to this day, we rely on the driver's feedback. And most of my clients are from Meals on Wheels, not all. Sometimes I'll get a call from someone in the community who would like their mom or dad or nephew,
Somebody,
to be visited with. And what it consists of, it's a social visit only. not a hands-on medical. The volunteer will go and will meet, I will go with them the first time. I look for the match after I've met with the client first. And the social visit is for an hour a week. And they just go in, and it depends on the person. Like, you may go for a walk with them, or a drive, or a cup of coffee, or just a chat. That's simple, but it really is based on friendship.
You mentioned the word match. So let's
Yes.
talk about that.
Yes.
So, I mean, how do you really know who is going to be sitting with this 93-year-old lady who lives independently alone?
Right. So what I do, I go and I meet with the person.
That must be a concern for you.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I go and meet with this person to find out what they're interested in. I can visit with them for, an hour and a half, just getting all my information. And I never want to make anybody nervous. I go back to my car, I write all these notes, so I have in my head, and I get to know them. And then I look for a volunteer to visit with them. And we do try to keep it very tight, because you're going into someone's home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the new millennium, you don't know who you got out there.
Right.
They could
right.
be perfectly acceptable on the surface and be something different behind.
Well, that's why a lot of times I will go with existing volunteers for any of the programs. That
Okay.
if I think, oh, they'd be a great friendly visitor. Yeah.
And is there any expense that you have associated with what you do?
No, there isn't. No, that way I very different. It just, like I said, it's strictly a volunteer visiting with someone who is in need of a friendship.
Right now, as we speak on today's date, how many people are receiving that service?
So this past fiscal year, I did 36 clients, and I have approximately 32 volunteers.
So how long do you have a client?
Well, it depends. I mean, I've had people who will visit, and it's easier almost to start with a volunteer. I've had a volunteer that has seen, like, say, one client, and until they passed away, it could be like 3 or 4 years, and will say to me, I loved being a friendly visitor, give me a moment, and then we'll go back and revisit. I've had people who will be a volunteer for 20 years, see different clients throughout that time. It really is a unique program.
But, I mean, theoretically, you could have a client that need goes on forever, as long as they're here.
Correct. And that's
What do you do in the event you get a call from the son of a 98-year-old woman,
Yes.
and that son says, my mother needs, would like to have somebody stop by once in a while, play cards with her, do something.
Right.
But she doesn't want that. I can't get her to agree to let a stranger come in her house and play cards with her.
And that has happened. I will have, sometimes I'll go in and, still, I'll just bring a meal through Christie. I'll bring a meal, because a lot of them are on Meals on Wheels, and I'll invite myself in, and then, the question, well, why can't you visit with me? And then I always say, I'm going to find someone much better, and so, for the most part, we can move forward with it when the son or daughter wants. Sometimes, though, it happens where they're not having it, and I respect that.
Okay, we've covered half of what you do.
Yes,
You also are involved with the food bank.
correct. So.
Tell us about the food bank.
Okay, so I am the co-director of the food bank with the Social Services, Donna Falcone, who is the director of Social Service Department. She's fantastic. So the part that I'm involved with is I provide the volunteers for the food bank. And
What do the volunteers do? What do they volunteer for?
So we have about 30 of them, because it's rotating shifts. So we have what we call packing volunteers. They pre-pack bags, because the clients get pre-packed bags in addition to items that they wanted. And then on Friday morning, it's open from 9 to 12, where people can donate, and the intake people take those donations in, they organize it, put it and have it.
Inventory.
Right,
Yeah.
and for inventory, have it very well run. And then our distribution is when the clients come, and we are open from 1 to 4:30, or we have clients come in and pick up their food.
Okay, so now you mentioned a client.
Yes.
Define that. What does that mean?
A recipient, someone who qualifies for the food bank.
And what do they have to do to qualify?
Well, in that
Is that a need thing?
Well, in that department, that goes through the social services department, where the client contacts the social services department, and they deal with that end.
Okay, so somebody contacts somebody over there, and they say, we'd like to pick up some food
Right.
at the food bank, or do you also deliver?
We do through the bus system, through the community center. We have a bus driver. Some people feel comfortable coming in the bus and picking up the food, and some don't. So that bus driver will deliver the food to them.
You know, these programs that you're talking about, the three of you, it seems to me that Guilford is a totally unique, it may not be.
No,
Maybe this goes on everywhere, but it
No, no,
doesn't
no.
seem to me that it could go on everywhere.
I agree with you. I think Guilford is extremely unique. I really do. I think we offer a lot.
Do you know if Fisley, that was easy for you to say, for friendly visitors in other towns, do you know that program?
Well, that's interesting, because I do get a lot of calls from other towns who would like me to come to, and we don't. We just service Guilford.
Okay, so you're not aware right now, at least, of anybody that's doing what
Well, I
you
don't
do?
want to put any blame on any other town, because I'm like, you should be running that. I just know that there is.
Yeah, you can only do what you can do. You got
There
your
you
hands
go.
full doing what you're doing. I get it. Yeah, that's fine. And as long as you keep doing it for Guilford, you're right?
You got it.
All right, so the bottom line here is that, again, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, are we unique? Is this the right town for what this is all about?
I think that we are. I mean, our organization is guided by our mission statement, which is neighbor helping neighbor. And I think that our Meals on Wheels programs do, exist in the other shoreline towns. But I think the collection of these organizations don't exist as one entity in many other towns, if any, in Connecticut. So
Yeah.
I think we are fortunate that when we get a phone call, we can say, well, this is what we do, Meals on Wheels. If you need medical equipment, Tony always gives me the medical equipment for a Meals on Wheels person. The driver will happily deliver it. And then our survey that we send out every once a year suggests, would you benefit from a friendly visitor? And then that's where we're all kind of linked together. So it's nice that if somebody is in need, then they could call one organization, and we usually can fill the need or direct them to Park and Rec or what have you.
Now, I have actually personally, and my Rotary Club actually, I've been a volunteer as a group at the community dining room in Branford. We don't have something like that. We have all this stuff, but you don't have a dining room where people just show up every day and have lunch. Is that something that you've considered doing as well, or does the Meals on Wheels take the burden away from having to do that?
I think.
Or where do we do it? The other problems.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, Meals on Wheels does fill that need. We also have people that don't want, for whatever reason, don't feel like they need Meals on Wheels, but they want a meal so they can pick it up at the Park and Rec. We did that a lot in COVID, and during COVID rather, and we just kind of continued. If somebody needs a meal but they don't want it delivered, we'll leave it at the front desk for them. And I also feel like our community center is so great that people can come and have lunch there if they want to.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
so it's a little, I know.
And it's the same lunch that you're delivering, right?
95% of the time,
Yeah.
yes.
All right, so we've got all this stuff going on, and again, I think Guilford is a perfect town for this, and I think the fact that you have so many volunteers working, how do you get all these people to do this? You're talking every day, every single day.
We all have very, very dedicated volunteers. They're all long-serving volunteers. Plus,
They use their own car to deliver meals?
In
Do you
Christie's
reimburse
case.
them for gas?
No,
No.
no.
Well,
We've only had
You're
one.
tough.
We've only had one. Only one person has asked us to do that, and we just don't have the the monetary means to do that. So he just I write down his hours, and he somehow submits them some way.
Yeah, and I just have great volunteers. Some of them have backgrounds in medicine, either by being nurses or social workers, or so several of us have worked in hospital environments before. So they come in and they're very familiar with a lot of the equipment. And plus all of our volunteers have empathy for what they do.
Yeah.
They all feel
Hey, you don't have the limitations of the borders of the town of Guilford.
I don't know.
You go
We go
wherever the need is, wherever you get the call.
Where everybody comes from, we don't care where they come from. We do ask them where our equipment's going, so we can have some stats, so
Yeah.
we can say, we go to 95 towns.
Yeah, what I didn't ask you before that I was thinking is, do you find that the equipment gets recycled?
Yes,
Somebody, you give it to somebody, the person passes away, unfortunately, the family calls you up and says, we're going to bring it back. Do you have
Yes.
that happen?
all the time. And a lot of people will take the equipment, and their question to us is, well, how long can I have it? We tell them as long as you need it. And if it's in good condition, bring it back. And we'll go through it again, and we'll send it back out again.
Yeah. Right now, what do you have a shortage of which you'd like to see donated?
The item that's the most requested, wheelchairs.
The wheelchairs.
Yeah. So any type of bathroom equipment, wheelchairs, things that give people mobility. That's the stuff that's the most requested.
I would think the walker would be the more. That's why I see them everywhere.
That's right. You see them everywhere.
All they don't have is headlights now.
Yeah, you see those everywhere, and because they're given out, usually the hospitals on discharge will give somebody a walker. They won't give somebody a wheelchair.
Yeah. Normally, a person in need for medical equipment like that, when they go to is it covered by insurance?
That's the reason why people come to us. It's either they don't have the insurance, or they don't have the right insurance, or Medicare or Medicaid doesn't cover. Many times people are thrown into the situation where their family member or a friend has a sudden illness, and they have to deal with this. That's the nice part about having my volunteers have experience, because when those people come in, we can spend some time with them to make sure they're getting the right equipment. So that's very helpful. And like I said, people are thrown into this, and all of a sudden they're being told, you have to have this for your parent who's being discharged from the hospital, and they don't know where to turn.
All right, let's talk about where the real money is out there. You have the Guilford Foundation. You have the Guilford Community Fund. Each multiple thousands of dollars annually or over a period of time, and other organizations, Rotary clubs, and whatever else is out there. Do you ever try to put the hit on them for? We need, and we're servicing people in Guilford, and we'd like you to help us. Do you do that?
Yeah, so I was
That's
just...
a terrible word, put the hit on them. Can't help it, I'm Italian. You understand?
I get it. When I was thinking about the organization and coming here and talking, I just started to think about how many partnerships we have in Guilford. And it's just, that's such a beautiful part of Guilford and our organization, but if I list how many people help us, it's really endless. I mean, in no particular order, the Guilford Foundation helps us, the Guilford Community Fund helps us, the town helps us through the Human Services Council. The Big Y helps us. The Stop and Shop helps us. The Rotary helps us. Bishops helps us, allowing us to be part of the Roundup program. The Marketplace helps us, also allowing us to be part of the Roundup program. The St. George Men's Group helps us. The Guilford Savings Bank helps us. So many individuals help us. And
this is your letter to the editor this week.
yes.
Yeah, and you actually thank some of the people you just mentioned, but you actually help them For example, Rotary, I know you guys worked at our Lobster Fest this year. Your volunteers showed up to serve food. In return, we gave you some money.
But then
It
we've
works.
been
It
doing
works.
that
Yeah.
for forever. I mean, I've been with GIV for 12 years, and they've always helped with the Rotary. Yeah.
All right, so there are organizations out there that have you in focus for what you need.
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, so many people.
Now's the time. You want to ask them? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, people are very, very generous to us. It's few and far between that we've asked and haven't been. I'll give you an example. Haven't been kind of just blessed with a yes. Every November, we host an event. It's one of our fundraisers for veterans, whereby we have a dinner at the Park and Rec, and people come in and sit and have a nice dinner, or they do takeout. The veterans always eat free. So the Ethan Miller Song Foundation this year, just 2 days ago, suggested that they're going to be paying for all the veterans' dinners.
Oh, fantastic.
So. And yeah, that's just us connecting with them because they're aligned with, protecting animals, veterans, kids, etc. So we get help from so many different people, and yeah, I mean, our biggest need is a monetary need because, especially now with the inflationary environment being what it is, that is our biggest need.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, the cost of a potato last year was less than it is this year. Or the stuff that everything, and maybe even when you're repairing medical equipment, you probably, in some cases at least, have to reach out and find a part, which might cost you money.
We do, and obviously since COVID, the price of parts has increased drastically. Something that an armrest for a wheelchair. Prior to COVID, that armrest was $6. That armrest is now $8. Nothing different. It's just that's the price of it. So that's how it's hit us.
Okay, what have we not discussed that you think people at home watching would like to know? What have we not thoroughly defined or refined in our discussion that you think could use some more?
Well, the only thing that I would just like to add is that, and we did say this, but I cannot stress this enough, is that our volunteers are the heart of our organization. We cannot do it without them. And I, cannot thank the Friendly Visitors or the Food Bank, as well as Tony can't thank his, and Christy can't thank. They are phenomenal people, and we truly appreciate that.
Well, that's a good point, because I'm at an age where a lot of my friends are retired, and when they retire, they always say, "What are you going to do when you're retired?" "Oh, I'm going to volunteer in the community," and they sit home and watch ESPN. They don't do what they thought they were going to do, and this is a perfect opportunity. Whether your interest is in food, we can do it. If your interest is in medical equipment, and if you're interested in sitting down with an old lady or an old man and discussing what it was like to be in the Korean War, right? I mean, this is a great opportunity. You guys offer that possibility to so many people that are potential volunteers, and I know you could always use more. Yeah, or you recycle old guys and bring in new, and whatever, But I know that happens all the time because I know people that it's happened with. And I don't know a better way for you to reach out and say, we need you. Now's the time. And if somebody does want to volunteer, how do they go about doing that? How do they reach you?
Oh, they just call us at the number, our offices, and they fill out a form with basically we need a reference, and then we'll check the references, and it's very simple.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the stuff that you're asking them to do, it's not brain surgery. I mean, almost anybody can deliver a meal if they have the heart to do that. Because that's what it takes, is the heart, not necessarily any kind of skill. So, well, I give you all the credit in the world for what you have done over the years and you continue to do. And I can only say that I wish you the best, and I thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation today. When I met you a couple of weeks ago, I said you would be perfect for this. And I also want to thank Matt for staying on today and helping us. He's the technical guy who knows how to do all this, because I don't know any of this. All I know is it'd be a pain in the ass. You don't have to edit that. That's an acceptable word. Anyway, thank you so much, Christy.
Thanks
I
for having
appreciate it.
us.
Tony, thank you.
Thank you.
Anne Marie.
Thank you, because
All right.
we are proud of what we do. We
Yes.
appreciate your time.